Hi friends, welcome back to another Wednesday Formation Fun. How are you? Great to be with you again as we continue our dive into the fruits of the Spirit. This week we get to talk about faithfulness. And what a great topic, right? As we just are reminded that no matter what, God is never going to stop loving us or break God's promises of being faithful to us. And so God shows us how to be faithful. Can you think of any stories in the Bible that remind you of God's faithfulness or show us God's faithfulness? One that I think of and one that I learned early on was the story of Noah's Ark, where God comes to Noah and says, "Build this ark for me." And God asks this really big thing of Noah, and Noah's response is one of faithfulness and says, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And so he builds this ginormous boat, an ark, and gathers all of the animals two by two by two, and they hop on the boat, and then God floods the earth. And that's a hard part of the story, right? Just knowing that God destroyed things because of humanity's sinfulness. But the flip side of this place where we get to see God's faithfulness, is when the dove is sent out and brings back an olive branch from the land, and God sends out a sign. Do you remember what that sign is? I think of this candy. You probably have seen it. The theme of the candy is taste the rainbow. Skittles. Right? Of all of the different colors. And so God sends out this rainbow to say that I promise I will never do this again. And I promise that I will love you no matter what. And so every time we see a rainbow in the sky, we can be reminded of that incredible faithfulness of God. I was looking into rainbows. Did you know that rainbows can be seen from different places, from different people, and each person is seeing the rainbow differently? Isn't that interesting? Because I think about the ways that I experience God's faithfulness and the ways that you might experience God's faithfulness, and knowing that they're different because God meets us where we are at. And just like we each can look up at a rainbow and see the rainbow, it's different for each one of us. Also, I think about the ways that rainbows are created. Rainbows are created by reflecting out of water droplets and then bending the light, and that bent light gets separated into different colors, and so that's why we see rainbows. And so thinking about the ways that we get to be reflections of God's faithfulness, and the ways that we get to show God's faithfulness in the world, and get to also be faithful to God. What does that look like? Today's verse is, "For the word of the Lord is right and true. God is faithful in all God does." It feels appropriate, doesn't it? As we talk about God's incredible faithfulness. And so what is faithfulness? What does that even mean? What does that look like? We can talk about that meaning being dependable and trustworthy and loyal. And how are we all of those things in our relationship with God? And how are we all of those things in relationship with one another? This week, I would invite you and your household to look for rainbows if it rains, and be thinking about God's incredible faithfulness and talk about that. Our friends at The Littles and Me, the link is below, have some great ideas of yummy snacks you can make with a rainbow fruit pizza. Delicious. Maybe making a rainbow necklace, which could be made from Fruit Loops or beads. And also thinking about other rainbow crafts that you could do to hang up around your house. Maybe you are a crocheter or a cross stitcher or a painter or drawer. There's so many different ways that we can express God's faithfulness through those elements. This week, our fruit in action is to take a blanket and watch either the sunrise or the sunset with your family. Maybe pack an early breakfast or pack a dinner or a snack, something you and your household enjoy, and go and watch the sunrise or the sunset and talk about the ways that God is faithful, the ways that we see God's faithfulness in all we do each and every day. Friends, post some pictures of rainbows that you see or have seen. Post some ways that you see God being faithful, either on the Facebook page or email me. All of that information follows the video. In the meantime, God's peace be with you. Until next time.